Alright, just a very quick video on listing contracts. You have a client who wants to sell a home, condo, multifamily, whatever it may be. This is the contract that we want to use. This should be in the forms package, the forms folder in our shared Dropbox folder. And should be the entire package is listed as seller package, but each individual form is in there as well. This is the agreement for exclusive right to sell with consented dual agency. Pretty simple stuff. First, right at the top, obviously you want to enter your date. The street address is right on that first line. A description of the property. And you can see in this case it's 159 Independence Ave, Quincy, Mass. It's a single-family residential dwelling. That's as descriptive as you need to be. The second line, tax ID, book, and page refers to the county's registry of deeds and the description in the registry of deeds. It's not necessary for you to enter anything in there. The address and a quick description of the property is sufficient. The county for this particular property, South Quincy, is Norfolk County. The listing price, what you and the seller have agreed as the listing price for the property, in this case it's $399, would be entered right there. If you scroll down just a little bit, a couple of things you need to enter into the contract here. You can skip that first line, you can read it over, but it's pretty self-explanatory. The second line, is the seller allowing you to advertise the property for sale? I'm not sure why they wouldn't be, so that I think 99% or 100% of the time is going to be checked off. Obviously, you're going to advertise the property to sale to bring buyers to the property. This one may or may not be. Sometimes the seller will not want a property sign or for sale sign in the front yard, so that may be something that they say a lot of times multifamily homeowners, 2s, 3s, 4-unit buildings and beyond, don't want to disturb their tenants, and they feel like a sign in the yard is a disturbance, so they opt not to have a sign in the yard. The compensation, this is the seller allowing you to compensate buyers at an amount of 2.5%. And if you skip ahead a little bit, the reason that this is 2.5 is because it's half of the full commission, which is the full 5% on line 3C. So obviously, the buyer, you are recognizing that the seller is recognizing that you are not taking the full commission. You are going to offer a buyer's agent or a buyer's representative half of the commission. If it was a 4% commission, it'd be 2% there. In this case, it's 5, so it's 2.5%. We are a traditional real estate office, so we do not offer sub-agencies and we usually don't get involved in facilitator agreements, facilitation agreements. So you can leave these two options blank. As you can see, I had offers or arrows pointing to both saying not offered. Those, and like I said, you can explain to your client we don't get involved in sub-agency or facilitator agreements. A little further down, as you can see, the full commission is 5%. Right here, I forgot to fill this in, but it says the said property or any part sold within, usually it's 60 or 30 to 60 days, depending on what you and the client agree upon. Basically, what this blurb right here is describing is if you market the property and for some reason you're not able to sell it, but because of your marketing, a buyer was made aware of the property being for sold, went directly to the seller would still owe you that full commission. If that happened, that case happened within 30 days. You market the property, the listing expired, or the seller decided to pull off or pull away, cancel the listing. A buyer was aware that the property was for sale previously due to your marketing, went directly to the seller would still owe you that 5% commission. Line 5 is just the term or the length of the contract. Today is 8/15/2013. We're going to run the contract for 4 months, and that's just as simple as that. Line 6 is just the seller acknowledging that you're going to put the property on MLS and advertise it for sale. Line 7, if the property for some reason is vacant or for whatever reason, the seller is going to allow you to place a lockbox on the property, they want to check this window right here, or this little box right here, authorizing you to do so. This is line 8 is the mass disclosure. It basically says that you have given your seller the disclosure describing what a seller agent is, what a buyer agent does, and at this last line, the seller hereby gives informed consent to dual agency. Dual agency is if we're the listing agent or the listing office, you are the listing agent, and you also bring the buyer. That would be a dual agency case, and this is acknowledgement from the seller that we may be in that, that may be the case, and you are authorized to become dual agent for the seller, or for both parties, excuse me. Number 9, you're always going to check the top box for number 9. The broker, our office and the agent act as one. Clients of clients of the agent are also clients of the office. We are, like I said again, we are a traditional firm, so this is always going to be checked. Oh, excuse me, that's actually not the right section. Excuse me. This is actually the disclosure of offers. We're always going to check number 1 anyway, because we do not disclose offers. Like I said, if you receive an offer from a buyer, you're not going to disclose that offer or any contingencies or anything about the offer to any other party besides the seller. Simply your signature. You act as the agent or broker. You sign the listing contract, print your name, your title, and then your seller is printing or signing his name or her name right here. Next page in this package would be the actual consumer relationship disclosure. There was a small blurb in the listing contract. We like to back up our efforts and make sure that they are aware or had been given this disclosure as well. That disclosure is part of the next page. It basically just says right in the center of the page, you are acting as a seller's agent. This is our company. It's the Mandrell company. This is the line I was actually talking about previously. We're always going to check 1 because we do not act as a designated agency. We are, like I said, a traditional firm, and we're always going to represent the seller as if the firm represents the seller, not just the individual agent. We represent clients as a firm. And again, your signature, your name printed right there, your license number, the date, and then the seller signs below. Signature, print name, and the date. It's really as simple as that. This is the actual agency representation, and you see I've boxed in the top section is usually what I do when I provide my sellers with this disclosure. Basically just says, look, this is what a seller's agent does, this is what a buyer's agent does, this is a facilitator, we don't usually get involved in that, and this is the last part. It describes what a dual agent does. But in this particular case, you are acting as a seller's agent, and I highlight that section for them so they know that is how we are representing them. Last thing that you need when you're going on a listing appointment, you have your listing contract, you have your MA disclosure. The last thing that you need is your lead paint disclosure. This form comes with several other pages of information regarding the hazards of lead paint, and this is the page that they need to sign stating whether they have knowledge of lead paint and what documentation they have on file. In this particular case, you see line A, the seller checked number 2 and says the seller has no knowledge of lead-based paint in the property, doesn't know whether there is or whether there is not lead in the property. The second line, B, or B2, the seller has no reports or records pertaining to lead paint. So in this particular situation, the seller threw up his hands and basically said, I don't really know whether there's lead paint here. I've never done a lead paint test. I have no documentation. And this is basically letting the buyer know. The buyer will receive this report, and you also need to sign off on it as well. The seller has no knowledge. If the seller had done a lead paint report, you might check off 1, the seller has known lead paint. and hazards are present, and then maybe provide the buyer with those reports as well, if available. As an agent, you want to make sure that you check off your acknowledgement, acknowledging that you have informed the seller of his obligations to inform the buyer of lead paint hazards, and you've verbally informed the purchaser of the possible presence of dangers of lead paint as well. Both parties need to sign off on this form. You usually keep it, during the listing period, you would keep it. When a buyer does present itself, you want to present this to the buyer's agent and have their client sign off, so they are aware of the lead paint situation, whether there is not, or it's unknown. Again, the seller signs at top, date, you as an agent sign below, date, and then the property's address. That's it. I mean, that's really all you need. Once you have your listing contract signed, you want to scan it in and put it into the active folder in the company shared Dropbox. And you also want to then get the listing online, or begin the marketing process for your listing. In terms of putting it on MLS, there are training videos or tutorials on MLS in terms of how to enter the data into MLS, and you should be able to do that pretty easily. One of the things that's not here, but is available in our company shared Dropbox folder, is a checklist. So this is the actual listing contract, but one thing you want to make sure that you bring to the listing appointment is a checklist to go through with the seller. What kind of heating is it? Is the roof in good condition? What are the tenants paying for rent? Questions like those you want to make sure that you have answered, so you're fully prepared to enter the listing into the system when you get back to the office or wherever that may be. All right, thanks.